made facing the direction of the Kaaba in Mecca, no matter where we are in the world.
As a Muslim, practicing the 4 out of the 5 pillars of Islam, inshallah I'll do Hajj soon. I do the 4 pillars for now. Is something very special to me. Doing the 5 pillars or the 4 pillars for me is something above the material world. It's something in the metaphysical world. It's something that cannot be described unless you do it. You will not understand what I say unless you try it. It's another level of happiness.
Giving zakat to the poor or less fortunate is a very big part of Islam. The minimum amount is set at 2.5% of one's annual financial saving. Businesses are also required to pay 2.5% of their annual profits to the needy. The act of giving is to show solidarity with the poor in one's own community. Zakah should be given to nearest needy relatives, neighbors, or for eligible causes in the country where we reside. It is a religious duty to give, and the receiver's right to take. It is believed that the giver will receive ajr, or blessings. These blessings are multiplied during the holy month of Ramadan. Fasting during the month of Ramadan is compulsory for all able Muslims. When a Muslim fasts, he does not eat, drink, smoke, say, or do anything wrong. According to the Gregorian calendar, the start of Ramadan is 10 days earlier every year, in line with the Islamic Hijri calendar. Fasting is not only a physical act, but also a purification of the soul. Whilst fasting, we are expected to abstain from all earthly pleasures, from food to water and sex. This is, however, only one component of the fast. The other is strengthening one's spiritual commitment to God.
Ramadan is such an important time for me, perhaps the most important time of the year for me, as it is for all Muslims. It's the time when we fast so we can feel a little bit with the poor and the hungry. It's the time when the Quran was revealed to our Prophet, so it's a very sacred and holy month. It's the time when all the family gathers on the ceremony of breaking the fast. So it's a very family-oriented time, and also it's the time when we go to the mosque and pray Taraweeh, which is a kind of prayer after we break our fast. So the whole society comes together at the mosque to pray. So it's a very nice time, socially, spiritually, ethically, anything.
If you eat or drink anything whilst you're fasting, your fast is broken, but if you do so by mistake, then it is not. The pilgrimage, or Hajj, is the journey to Mecca for all Muslims who are physically and financially able to perform this voyage once in their lifetime. The pilgrimage itself is the final act of directing one's life to God. In Mecca, it is the one time where a Muslim stands with his brothers in Islam, with the same will to obey and worship God above everything else. It's a time when Muslims concede all worldly pleasures and refined luxuries, political and social status, and stand as equals before God.
Assalamu alaikum. I'm writing this letter to share some of my experiences of Hajj. Somehow I do feel like I have made a greater connection to Allah, Islam, and fellow Muslims. I tell you, it is the most humbling experience. The day I stepped back into the comfort of our home, my heart was filled in its entirety with gratitude for all the blessings that we have. There were days when we spent hours upon hours moving just a few kilometers amidst masses of people. It is so informative with practical lessons to support spiritual theory, and for me personally, it was a deeply moving experience that has helped me to answer so many questions within myself. I don't know how long the influence of the Hajj will last. Somehow worldly matters were so far removed from those 7 days in Mecca. However, I hope and pray that my experiences will remain embedded, at the very least, as my conscience, if not in my actions.
All 5 pillars are integral to supporting a Muslim's daily life. A true believer not only fasts and prays, but as someone who has totally surrendered himself or herself to God. Sharia. Every Muslim is under an obligation to fashion his entire life in accordance with the dictates of the Holy Quran and Sunnah, and is to observe at every step the distinction between what is right, halal, and what is wrong, haram. As man-made legal systems bind social codes of conduct in Western societies, so too Sharia law sets the guidelines in Islam. With high crime rates, broken homes, mental illness, chaos and confusion, so-called progressive, modern and enlightened man-made laws are questioned in Islam. The first primary source of Sharia is the Quran, the Muslim holy book, which was revealed to the Prophet Muhammad by God in the year 622 AD. Muslims believe the Quran is the source of divine laws that govern their everyday lives. The Sunnah is the second primary source of Sharia. Sunnah is the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad and everything he did and said during his lifetime. The Sunnah is considered to be the second source of Sharia after the Quran, and by no means less important. Sharia governs all aspects of a Muslim's life, from marriage to death, to education, to social security, inheritance, property rights, and even economic systems.
إنما يطبق الحد إذا كان هناك خلافة إسلامية دولة إسلامية وهناك.
For had or punishment to be practiced, there must first be an Islamic nation, an emir responsible for this nation, and a committee of Islamic scholars and judges specialized in these matters. They alone can decide whether had should be practiced.
وجوبا للجرم الذي ارتكبه الإنسان.
In other situations, ta'zir is applied, which can include lashes, imprisonment, a fine, or simply a warning.
The word had, the translation of that in English would be capital punishment, right? Or corporal punishment. Now, what's interesting, we understand in the Bible, because we refer everything back to the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments is the foundation of the monotheistic faith of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, the final chapter, right? And we refer back to the Ten Commandments where it says, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, thou shalt not commit adultery. These are all laws that are set down by God on us, right? And if people break these laws, then there's a punishment for it.
It is believed that if you are punished for a crime in this life, you will be absolved in the afterlife. According to Quranic guidance, drinking liquor does more harm than benefit to an individual and society as a whole. Many cases of horrible crimes, accidents, and domestic violence occur under the influence of alcohol and other intoxicating substances. Human life is sacred in Islam. In the case of intentional murder, the accused is executed. If, however, the murder was accidental, diya or blood money is paid to the family of the deceased. As Islam focuses on the well-being of the family and extended family, inheritance laws are based upon the premise that men are the main providers for a family and would therefore receive the greater part of the inheritance. The right to own property was given to both men and women 1400 years ago. At the same time, women gained the right to vote and participate in political life.
Women have been able to vote on everything for 1400 years. And only just in the beginning of the 20th century did women be able to vote in Western countries. Women had the right to run businesses and own property and inherit, whereas women did not until the 20th century.
In Switzerland, it was just not too long ago, I'm talking about within about 50 years ago, that women were just allowed to vote. Well, over 1400 years ago, women were allowed to vote in Islam, right? Women were allowed to hold positions of authority, right? They were allowed to study. They were allowed to work. And you heard that saying, what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine? Islamically, that's correct for the Muslim woman because what she earns is hers.
This is the one that I like the best, is women back then as well as today, whatever monies they keep, or whatever the monies that they make, They get to keep, they don't have to pool their income resources with the household.
The Islamic economic system is different from conventional commercial transactions. Today there are many investment opportunities in compliance with Islamic Sharia, introducing the investor to socially responsible funds listed on the Dow Jones Islamic Market Index, among other indices. Some restrictions include companies producing, distributing or selling alcohol, pork or pornography, operators of gambling casinos and producers of gambling equipment, as well as financial investment institutions that invest in restricted companies. The principles of Islamic banking are grounded in Sharia law, whereby banks enter into a partnership arrangement with the investor, sharing both profits and losses. Muslims are discouraged from living on credit. Sharia encourages cash transactions in order to limit debt and allow us to live free from financial worry and anxiety. If crimes are allowed to go unchecked, it will most certainly disrupt the social fabric of the whole ummah or state. Sharia law merely provides the guidelines to protect Islamic societies. The family in Islam. The family is at the core of Islam, and religious laws are aimed at maintaining and strengthening family relations. Founded more than 1400 years ago, Islam brought a message of peace and goodwill to all mankind, based upon human rights and civil liberties, as it is understood across all religions today. The Quran is Islam's equivalent of the Bible or Torah. The Quran, as well as the teachings of Prophet Muhammad, calls for mutual respect and love between parents and their children. Muslim parents are held accountable before Allah or God for the way they raise their children. In return, Muslim children are expected to respect their parents, listen to their opinions, never raise their voices in front of them, and take great care of them as they grow older. Homes for the elderly are very rare in Muslim societies. The responsibility of aging parents and grandparents is shared by the children.